It's the Dadnarok After Show. Now, here's Chris and Sean.
Welcome back once again to the Dadnarok After Show. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
And tonight we're talking about the little Trump dance. When he gets up on stage, YMCA is playing. He's just like,
we're already off the fucking rails.
You did it. You were the one dancing. What is this? What are we talking about?
Lord of the Rings.
The Rings of Power, episode 6, entitled
Where is he?
Where is he? Where is he?
Okay, guys, we had this goofy ass opening here. So if you're new to us, welcome to this shit show. We do this for all these big shows that we can think of. Anything that we think we're going to enjoy, watching. We want to talk about it. We want you guys, to join us, talk about it as well. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. The more you guys interact with us, the better this show is going to be. And let's you do that, and then we do us,
and we'll do.
We'll do the do.
Look, I ordered this Transformers pair of headphones. From JLab.
Are they in disguise?
They are. Actually, when you turn them on, it gives you the little Transformers whack, 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 like in your ears.
Oh, that is awesome.
Got the little logo on there.
I think that's cool.
Probably not, but they're good. They're good pair of headphones. I can't wait to try them out later. But they were just in front of me, so I had to talk about them because I'd rather not talk about the episode, apparently.
So, okay, I gave you a little bit insight before we started about my thought.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this episode?
I actually, to be honest, I liked it a little bit more than last episode. I thought last episode we were spinning tires a little bit more. Well, this seemed like more of an appropriate setup to the final episodes. Like the stage is set with I still don't know the name of the city, Celebrimbor City, as far as like really knowing the showing the forces.
Oregon. Yeah.
Oregano. I like the stage is really set as far as like seeing the legions of orcs that are outside of it right now. He blew the horn, the lights are out. We get a better understanding of what he sees. What's his like scarred guy? What he sees Galadriel's role is, with the whole thing. So it's like we barely touched on it last week. So I was appreciated that we got more of that. We got more of the Celebrimbor and Sauron interplay. We got to see Sauron just straight up. I mean, like
just manipulating everything.
Yeah, totally like Thanos with the reality ring, just showing Celebrimbor some crazy stuff. And well, by crazy stuff, I mean not crazy stuff.
It just completely changed the reality of what was happening outside.
Yeah, to just put him back at ease. And we saw him travel a little bit. He went to the dwarven realm known as
Khazad-dûm,
yes. I was testing you.
Oh, sure you are. I believe
not
you.
That I forgot the name of it.
This dwarf beard will not miss that name.
So there was actually some everything it kind of touched on, I appreciated. I think they could have done more with the fake Gandalf, storyline. They just kind of went out to the woods and hey, you got a choice between Nori or your destiny. I like that. I have a feeling that like him choosing Nori is the right choice, and this is all kind of a test, but I liked, the progress that was made. I appreciated it more than the lack of progress from the last episode.
I don't care about anyone anymore.
Uh-oh.
I'm to that point. No, okay, I won't say anybody. I still like Durin. I still like Khazad-dûm. I like what's happening there. The rest of it, it's just okay to me. Yeah. And that's fine. It can be okay. I'm not interested anymore. Like, I don't care what happens to Celebrimbor anymore. I don't care that he's stressed never making these rings for men. Or he's getting his mind melted, he's on some type of shrooms that Sauron's giving him. The Tom Bombadil thing, I still think that's cool, but I couldn't care less about Stranger anymore. I don't know what's happened. The show is better this season than it was last. By far.
Oh, yeah.
But I want, like, deep down in me wants to love this show. I did the first 3 episodes, and then it just kind of it's going downhill. Now I know what's coming just based on what they've shown us in previews and the battle and everything that's going to happen. So I know I'm going to enjoy that, but it's going to be hard for me to enjoy something that I have no interest in the characters that it's happening to.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
So I'm kind of
Um,
at that point with it.
I think that's the saddest thing about this show is that it's just okay. You know, it's like it's okay. And for the budget and for the visual feast that we see each week, it needs to have a story that matches the visuals. You know what I mean? Like it needs to have a truly enveloping story where you really and by this point in a television show and you're in, more than halfway through the second season, you need to be invested in the characters. Like
Mhm.
the first season, you kind of give its excuses like, well, it has a tough chore of introducing everyone. If you have a TV show that gets you invested in the characters in the first season, that's saying something. You know what I mean? Like that's a TV show that probably has legs. But by this point in the second season, if you don't care about the characters, but boy, oh boy, what are
Yeah,
we even doing here?
I'm just and like I said, I so badly want this to be good. I so badly want to watch. I am looking forward to next week. So
Yeah,
it's not losing me with my anticipation from week to week. But while I'm watching it, my mind starts wandering. I pick up my phone. I'm like, I'm not invested truly in what I'm watching.
yeah.
So it's I mean, even you said last week, say during the episode, you were dozing
I was
almost.
literally falling asleep. Yeah,
So in this episode here, like I'm usually someone that watches all the extras.
yeah.
I'll watch the interviews. I think I even did run the interviews. I wasn't really watching them, but then I'll go to another YouTube channel and I watched a full breakdown and all the lore and everything that I don't know.
Right.
And I got 5 minutes into the breakdown and I just shut it off.
Yeah.
It was like I couldn't rehash an episode that I just watched and didn't truly enjoy.
Right. Yeah. And all these what are supposed to be big moments just kind of fall flat. And like you said, I want to for instance, Elendil, I think, who is the father of ring bearer dude, Isildur. I'm so bad with names tonight. I'm usually not this bad. Isildur's dad, how he's got the faith and her, and she takes his place, and that should have been a big moment. And her getting spit out by the big sea monster, should
I
have been a
didn't even
bigger
quite
moment.
understand what was truly going on. Like when
Yeah,
Muriel went ahead and volunteered as tribute,
yeah.
did that free Elendil? Like, is he no longer imprisoned? Is he
That's how
free
I
to go?
read that. I mean, yeah, they didn't explicitly, spell out exactly what the rules are. They just kind of looked in this book and were like, "Yep, that fits."
So
And
now while
then,
she's walking away, they're chanting her name.
right.
Is that undoing what happened to our Farazan?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question, and that's kind of where they leave it before we really get answers around that.
So like,
Which I can be okay with, leaving stuff on a cliffhanger. You know what I mean? As far as just what do we do now? That's what you're supposed to do. So you tune in next episode. But when it kind of leaves you not with questions like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? But oh my gosh, do I even understand what just happened in front of me?
yeah.
Do I understand what I'm watching? That's not the kind of question you want to watch or ask yourself.
So if I look at it, okay, so I look at it in the lens of Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings essentially had two storylines going on. You had Frodo and Sam, and then pretty much you had everyone else was kind of within one story.
Yeah.
Here on this show, the show is trying to make 4 or 5 storylines happen within an hour's time each week. And that's why I feel like it's so far out of focus. It's like it's trying to do too much with what I don't know. I feel scatterbrained at times watching the show.
Maybe that's it. Maybe there should be less because it's I like the fact that they checked in with more characters this time because it keeps me interested. Last week I was falling asleep honestly because it's they were showing the same characters over and over again and there was not that much plot happening even though they were spending a lot of time with characters. We weren't getting a lot of plot development and I think that's a reason besides me being tired. The reason where I was just kind of losing focus and dozing off. This week, we kind of checked in with pretty much every character besides Isildur, which was a good thing in my eyes. But at the same time, you're right. It is also scattershot. It's all over the place. And it feels better when you do have something like the original Lord of the Rings, or even, for example, the House of the Dragon, where you've literally got two separate families. You're
Mhm.
following one family storyline versus another family storyline, and it bounces back and forth like a tennis match. And it's really you get huge plot developments each episode. You get great character development each episode, and it's not like that's a small cast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So there's got to be a way of like writing this or telling a story that's not so spread across the map. You know?
Well, it's funny. It's like while you were talking there, it's like I remember last week's episode hit us differently. I really enjoyed last week's. When I was done, I was like, I enjoyed it. May not have
Yeah.
come across in our review, but I enjoyed what we watched. This week, you enjoyed it, and this week, I'm like, I don't know where I'm at with it anymore. I'm like, am I done with the show? I'm still gonna watch it. I'm not I hate watching it. I enjoy it, but I'm just having a hard time getting invested in it.
Here's my thing, as far as you and I covering shows, because this is not our first rodeo. You know, we've had other shows that we've watched. I am in no way excited about talking about this show anymore. Like sitting down here in front of the camera and like going over episode by episode, it kind of feels like a chore a little bit. Just like we have to check in with Lord of the Rings to see what's going on. And I'm just kind of counting down to the last episode of the season. And it kind of that's not a good play. You know,
That is
because
the
we've
House of the
covered
Dragon
shows.
was not that way.
No, it was not. It was like by the time House of the Dragon ended, it was like, oh damn, man, we're not gonna have House of the Dragon next week. That
We were
sucks.
just pissed on how the House of the Dragon ended. That's all that
Yeah.
was. Like how they just basically gave us a warm turd for the last episode.
We were most upset by that last episode because we're gonna have to wait so long for the next
Mhm.
season. We're like, that's
Yeah.
why we're really upset. Like, damn it! Like, couldn't they just have another couple of episodes? You know,
Yeah, exactly. Give
that
us
is
10. Give
not
us the proper 10.
that's not what's going on here. Like, I'm just kind of waiting, like, for these last two episodes to hit, so I could just kind of move on. Which is, you know, that's
That's
kind of what my feelings are about the show currently.
yeah, 'cause I mean, I look at things like I even told you, like everything that happens in Numenor, I don't care what happens in Numenor. I know Numenor gets destroyed. I know there's going to be a civil war essentially that's going to happen in Numenor. And they're setting it up. I know what they're doing. They're, Muriel, then Farzine or Furzine or Furry Fart or Furry Bud. I don't know.
Fozzie Bear.
Yeah, Fozzie Bear, Waka Waka. They're going to have, there are two different sides. They're going to clash and something's going to happen and wash everything away. Muriel's already seen it within the Palantir. So that's going to take place.
You know what, too? That whole storyline, it's weird about this show because it's like, it's so expensive looking with a lot of the visual effects and a lot of the like establishing shots and stuff. But then when you get into like character scenes, like in the prison cells or even like the city that the little hobbit city that the stores are in, it feels very much like a set, you know. It feels like they're in
It feels
the
small. The
it feels
volume.
very small. Yeah, it feels like they're in the volume or something. Like everything looks great until it kind of looks like a stage that they're on. You know, it's kind of weird about this show where no doubt they're spending a lot of money. And you confirmed with me last week they're dead set on making what, 5 seasons of
5.
this?
Yeah, I think 3 is almost in the works. So hopefully we don't have to wait as long. But I mean, I know they said the ratings are up for this season,
Yeah.
but oi, that's all I know is oi.
I we wanted to kind of break down this episode, I guess, but I feel like I'm more interested in talking about the show as a whole. Like I am way more interested if they keep going into season 3 and 4 and 5. I am more interested in knowing about these characters. Like introduce to me like what characters are gonna inherit some of these 9 rings of men, because we
Yeah,
know like especially the men, because we know that the men are gonna be tainted. So like
yeah.
that's so interesting to see a story of like some man that we like, a character that we're like, oh, this is like a cool dude, or this is a good character, and
Who's
like
gonna become the Witch King? Who's gonna become, all these pieces that it would be very interesting to give us some tidbits.
yeah, and I want to have scenes with with Isildur and because we know Isildur is more involved. Like in Lord of the Rings, it's like Elrond and Isildur like back to back in Mount Doom. Like they're the ones like, going up there and trying to destroy the ring and stuff. I want to see more of these characters merge and be introduced to each other. I want to see it. The storylines just feel so separate, and I'd like to see more characters introduced that are actually wearing these rings, and I'd like to see these storylines come together because they've been honestly they've been separate pretty much since the first episode. I mean, like, the stranger and Nori and stuff, that's just, like, so it's literally, like, on the other side of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Like, like, who knows how it's gonna, get back, so, I'd like to see some more cohesion, I guess, going forward if they are gonna continue making the show, which I guess they are.
Yeah. I honestly don't even know how you would even fix it. I mean, in my opinion, I don't, just because I'm just thinking you'd have to thin things out, but you
Yeah,
can't thin. The only way you can thin things out is if you do what you're suggesting, is bring so many of these storylines into one storyline. So if
yeah,
you bring, everyone that's all the elves and then the dwarves together, and then you bring so if you bring it from 5 actual storylines down to maybe 3, and
yeah.
merge them down to 3, then I can see it being more focused, more um interesting and easy to follow. Because I feel like at times it's even hard to follow.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe the fall of Numenor will be the catalyst for because that basically eliminates a whole plot,
But
whole
but
setting,
I don't
you
think we're
know?
gonna get to Fall of Numenor until like season 3 or 4. That's a big event. So we gotta
Yeah.
wait that long for something like that to take place.
I hope it's middle of season 3 at latest, because I mean, if it's 5 seasons, because it's like that's a big thing, that should be like maybe a halfway mark. If you're having 5 seasons, then season 2 going into season 3 is kinda your halfway mark. Do something big, like the fall of a whole human civilization, which was like the best, quote unquote human civilization that was going on the planet, and it falls. That's a big deal, and that should have, like, interesting repercussions into, basically spearheading what the rest of the remainder of or the second half of the show will be going forward, you know?
Yeah.
That's the time to do it. So if they wait too late on that, I think that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't have much to add. I mean, you're
Yeah,
saying what I know about some of the rings, like for instance, the Dwarving rings, they passed them down. There was nothing about corruption in these rings for the dwarves.
yeah,
So we're seeing that. Why would little Durin, want that ring in the future when his dad dies? Why would he inherit that ring and put that ring on if
right.
he sees what it's doing to his dad? And he's already told Disa that he's not going to wear the ring. But
Yeah.
we know throughout history, they're passed down. So it's like,
Yeah, and we know too, I mean, you get the feeling in Lord of the Rings that Sauron was playing the long game, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just about this initial rise, like, he had backup plans, you know what I mean? Like, he had him coming back as the Eye of Sauron and stuff, and like having all these minions kind of like work for him after he dies another time. What's cool about the show is that we do see where Sauron has the ability to die and come back and die and come back.
yeah,
So, I mean, hell, who's to say that, well, I guess because the Lord of the Rings specifically says like all his power and malice is kind of focused into the one ring, and destroying that kind of does destroy him finally. Um,
kind
but
of his Horcrux.
yeah, yeah, it kinda is like, Voldemort in a way. And, I don't know, I lost my train of thought, but I'm just complaining about the show.
I don't know. Was there any shining light in this episode for you? Like, for instance, I love the character growth between Durin and Dern. I love how
Yeah,
and Nisa. I love how
yeah,
like Disa was like, I don't want to humiliate your father because he's like my father.
right.
I love the relationship that they're showing. Like, she's not looking to humiliate him. She's looking to save the person that she knows and loves
Yeah,
before he's too far gone.
yeah.
That's still the strongest part of the show. And I think we need what this season's missing with that storyline is Elrond. We need
Yeah.
Elrond back into that picture, that storyline.
Elrond was like an objective third party that can, like, have a different point of view into the dynamics because we know We know Issa and Durin, Prince Durin, are pretty much going to be on the same team, same frame of mind going forward forever. I mean, there was a little dissonance as far as how far gone they think King Durin is,
Yeah.
but I mean that was pretty quickly resolved the same episode.
Yeah, I
So
loved
yeah,
how he was
I think it is missing that.
I loved how he was sitting there looking at the tree and he was breaking down. Like he still
Yeah,
sees his father in his eyes,
right.
but his actions isn't what he
Yeah,
sees anymore.
there is good in him. I can turn him back to the good side.
Yeah. Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that was like the one shining light, and that's been a shining light in this show from season 1 till now. Everything that's really happening in Casa Doom has always been some of my favorite stuff that's taking place in the show.
yeah. Too much Tom Bombadil, I think. Too much. I think yeah,
We didn't even
Tom
get much
Bombadil,
this episode.
and we didn't. But that character is so unique and special in the Lord of the Rings. I don't want him to be ruined,
De
and I don't want him to hang
demystified.
yeah, demystified, and I don't want him to just hang around for the sake of hanging around. You know what I mean? Like, I kinda hope this is his last appearance
He
in
may be gone because
because
when
he
the
did kinda
stranger turned
disappear.
around, he was gone.
Yeah.
So I think we may have seen the end of Bombadil in the show.
I kinda hope that's the case because that would kinda let him continue to be this mysterious character, in the lore,
Yeah.
and just come into and basically, it sucks because it's like, if you're gonna have Tom Bombadil come in and help a wizard become a wizard, then that wizard is probably definitely Gandalf, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
uh, I don't know. I was hoping beyond hope that this was not Gandalf we were watching, but everything that the show is pointing towards is saying that it is. But it's its own thing. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, there's no point of really complaining about it at this point. They've pretty much written it down for us, saying, "Hey, this is who it is.
Yeah,
If you don't know who it is by now, we without saying his name, it's on you."
right. Yeah. Um, I don't know. Did I like anything in particular? I kind of did like the Ellen Deal and the Queen thing back and forth. It was a little confusing as far as like, the laws and can we do this and what's the rules and are we still in trouble? Are we not? Um, but I think that was a baller move to like take his place and like kind of force his hand and go out there. I mean, if you're gonna win your people back, that's the way you do it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like self sac I'm gonna like put myself in the lion's den, and if I come out unscathed, that's gonna give you, more all the more reason to like start backing me again. You know what I mean? And that's friend or leader to kind of put themselves out there like that is a good thing, I think.
And when she came out, look at his face was like, "Oh crap."
Oh yeah, he knew. He was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah, that is
Whoopsie.
not a winning move right there.
Because he was hoping that she was just gonna be eaten by this thing and, like, he wouldn't have to worry about her anymore, like, "Oh," well, he'd be like, "Oh, that's done."
Done
Um,
and dusted. We're moving on.
but that's not what happened.
She was not worthy.
Yeah. Not worthy. But, any other things like the Nori stuff was okay, we didn't really do anything. Do you think the stores are gonna leave that little spot they call home?
Yes.
I think they're gonna have to, right?
They're
Because
gonna have to, yeah, they're gonna have to leave because something's gonna happen. The Dark Wizard or whoever his minions are. Tonight we steal the moon. They're gonna go ahead and enforce their hand, and they're gonna go ahead and find the rest of the Harfoots.
um, and I kinda like that storyline because that was something that was missing from the kind of the wandering, little folk that Nori belongs to, that's not Hobbit-like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
hobbits in their hobbit holes living in the Shire is like, that's their home, that's their place, and they pass their homes down from generation to generation to generation, you know what I mean? It like much like the stores do in this little spot that they're in. It's very much a Hobbit, characteristic.
yeah,
So I think that sort of thing will move on to, and I kind of like the story of the Search of the Shire. I think it's too bad that it's muddled up in this big confusing mess of a show with all these different plot lines. But like wandering little people that are like in these different tribes and have these different ways of
Could
life.
almost
And
be a show by itself.
it could almost be a show for itself, like the search for the Shire and the search for home. Like imagine we're like the final episode, like they're literally like we finally did it. We're home, and you see these rolling, beautiful hills
Yeah.
of the Shire.
And I think that's where it's heading. I really
Yeah,
think that's where it's heading. It's heading to the stores, meeting up with the Harfoots, and they're going to continue going north, and they're going to find what we know as a Shire. 'Cause I think
yeah,
if what I know is right, they actually established the Shire, or
right.
what we know as the Shire. So
Yeah,
I think we're going to see the establishment of the Shire come together, and it's going to be the stores that show the Harfoots how to dig, how to
yeah.
build the houses in the hills, because they've already established that, but in rock, so it's been a lot harder for them.
Yeah, and it's once again, it's like I love the idea of that. It's the execution that's failing me. You know what I mean? It's like we're so diverted, and maybe we're not spending enough time on it, and maybe it's weird that it's like kind of mixed in with the origin of quote unquote Gandalf.
That's
Um,
I think that's what it
I
is.
just wish, if it's gonna be Gandalf, just tell us it's Gandalf. You know what I
Just
mean?
say it.
Like,
Yeah.
just say it. Just like start calling him Gandalf, and you know what I mean? Like, because then I could just let go and be like, "Okay, well, this is why Gandalf has this affinity for, the hobbits, because like, they were literally the ones to help him when he first
Yeah.
crash landed here on Earth, on Middle Earth." Like, I get it.
And I don't
Um
mind that. I like that idea of that. That's why he's so attached
Right.
to hobbits. He's always going to 'em. He went to Bilbo. Then after Bilbo, he winds up with, you know, Sam and Frodo.
Sam and Frodo, and you could tell that, like, and if this is the story where Gandalf has, befriended these people, like, generation after generation, and they just kinda know him as this old man that stops by the Shire every now and then to, like, light off fireworks, and because you get the feeling that the actual town of the hobbits and the Shire, they consider Gandalf like a friend of the Shire, but they consider him, like, kind of a troublemaker, and,
Yeah,
like,
some
when
of them
things
consider him trouble. Yeah.
yeah, like, when he shows around, like, bad stuff can potentially happen, and, like, he's still invited, but, like, he can wear out his welcome, and, it's just,
Yeah.
like, this weird dynamic where they don't wanna get involved with the rest of the world because the Shire is a special place
It's
where
kinda insulated from everything else.
it's kinda insulated, it's almost got this magic veil around it where it's kind of unscathed, untouched by man, untouched by even, like, close places, like, where the End of the Prancing Pony, where it's all, like, mud and men and bars and stuff,
You know,
like, the
you had the
Shire.
uh, I'm blanking on his name, where you see Merry and Pippin stealing, like, radishes and everything
Yes,
from his garden.
right, yeah. Where the Shire is just, like, this really special place, and that's why in the books, I lament the fact that it was never in the movie, that, like, post the ring going into Mount Doom's lava, there was a whole War of the Shire where that's actually where Sauron dies, where they go back and Sauron has brought the orcs back to the Shire, and it's the story of, like, Frodo, Sam. It's basically like a little prologue where they're, like, back and they're, like, gathering up the hobbits who have been almost, like, enslaved at this point and, like, revolting and, like, taking the Shire back from the evils of the orcs and Saruman. That happened in the books, didn't happen in the movies. But anyway, what was I talking about? The Shire, Lord of the Rings? Yeah, this show's just like, that's good stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's stuff that we're not getting with this show.
We're enjoying other things that go along with the Lord of the Rings. This
Yeah.
show is kind of there
It's not hitting
for
those
us right
buttons
now.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna continue watching it. We're gonna continue doing this, and it's gonna pick up the next two episodes. We're gonna get some orcs' heads flying, and we already seen some, flaming rocks for some reason. I don't know why they're flaming besides cool TV.
It's cool TV, yeah.
Flying into a region. So yeah. So I hopefully these next two episodes are gonna stick it for us to go ahead and be like, yeah, okay. First three episodes were good. The middle was kind of weak. They stuck the landing. Let's go on to the next season type situation.
I don't have a lot of faith that it's gonna come back strong these last 2 episodes and really end well, like, "Oh, yeah, heck yeah, it
I
really
was
ramped up
trying to
there."
end on a smile here.
Well, hey, either way, we'll be here to talk about it. We'll be here
Yeah.
next week to talk about episode 7, and that's the penultimate episode. There's only 1 episode after that. Join us for those. Of course, we're going to be continuing with other stuff post the Rings of Power. We've got other stuff coming up. There's a show on Apple.
So you want to give them a heads up?
I think so. Just to talk about it a little bit. Why don't you introduce it?
So there's a show over on Apple called Silo.
Yeah.
Basically, the premise of the show is post-apocalyptic, go figure, but they've been living in these silos underground. And there's like a mayor and there's, a sheriff and everything. There's people controlling the power. And it's basically its own little city, isolated
You
from
talking
everything.
about Fallout?
Yeah.
I thought you hated post-apocalyptic shows.
This one here grabbed me because it was the story that got it. Fallout story, I thought sucked. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, everything is happening within it. It's more of a political thriller than anything else. There's no zombies. There's none of that. It's all people in cornfields that are inside this silo. It's really fun to watch. Give it a shot because we're going to go ahead. I think we're going to cover a couple episodes, do a show, a couple episodes, do a show.
Yeah, you've watched season 1. I haven't seen a single episode of Silo, so we'll have that dynamic. Well, you'll know the entirety of season 1, and I'll be kind of fresh. We'll be covering a couple episodes at a time as kind of a recap, kind of a rewind, because Silo season 2 is scheduled to come out in December?
I think November 17th for some reason. That date is in my head.
Yeah, so anyway, it's coming up here shortly. So Silo is we're going to be covering after this, seasons 1 and then into season 2 as that releases. So stay tuned for that. If you're not digging the Lord of the Rings, like we're not digging Lord of the Rings, we got more on the way. But until then, I guess we'll see you next week. And what do we leave off with?
Some llama's bread?
Yeah, llama's bread. See ya.